Hello everyone, and welcome to what might be the most explosive, franchise-altering, game-changing news day we've had all off-season. I'm so grateful you're here because what I'm about to reveal is going to blow your mind and force you to completely rethink everything you thought you knew about the Toronto Blue Jays. Plans for 2026. If you're enjoying this content and would like to see more videos that dive deep into the biggest stories affecting this team, please support the channel by subscribing. We're currently working incredibly hard to reach 1,000 subscribers, and your support means absolutely everything. Jeff Passan just dropped an absolute bombshell that's sending shockwaves through the entire baseball world. Alex Bregman is heading to Chicago on a year $175 million deal with a full no-trade clause and 0 opt-outs. The Cubs just landed one of the biggest free agents of the winter. And while Chicago celebrates in the streets, Boston is literally burning to the ground. Red Sox fans are calling for owner John Henry to sell the team. They're calling the front office domestic terrorists. And honestly, it's becoming increasingly hard to argue with them, right? Now, given the pattern of catastrophic decisions this organization has made, but that's just the beginning of this story, folks. Because while the baseball world is focused on Bregman and the Red Sox disaster, an MLB insider has sparked a league-wide reaction by suggesting the Toronto Blue Jays could be on the verge of a massive blockbuster trade involving one of the most impactful switch hitters in baseball. The trade rumor you're about to hear is the kind that flips the entire offseason on its head and forces every Blue Jays fan to stop scrolling. Lock in and listen closely. So before we go any further, make sure you subscribe right now because this channel is pushing hard for 1,000 subscribers. You do not want to miss a single update as this story unfolds in real time. We're about to break down exactly what happened with Bregman and why it's an absolute disaster for Boston. Then we're going to dive deep into this explosive Kettle Mart trade proposal that has Blue Jays fans completely divided. Let's get into it. Let me break down exactly what happened with Alex Bregman and why this represents one of the most spectacular organizational failures we've seen in recent baseball history. Because this isn't just about losing one elite free agent, this is about a pattern of incompetence, a short-sighted decision-making, and catastrophic mismanagement that has destroyed the Boston Red Sox franchise from the inside out. Ken Rosenthal confirmed the deal moments after Passan broke the initial news. John Heyman jumped in with his own independent report. Every major insider in baseball is talking about the exact same thing. Bregman to the Cubs is official. The contract is massive, and the Red Sox are left holding absolutely nothing. No backup plan, no alternative target, no coherent strategy moving forward. Just empty promises and a gaping hole at third base that they have zero idea how to fill. Think about where Boston was positioned just 2 years ago, because this will help you understand the magnitude of their failure. They had Rafael Devers locked up as their franchise cornerstone, one of the best young hitters in baseball who could anchor their lineup for the next decade. They had a clear, obvious path to compete in the hyper-competitive American League East. They had options. They had flexibility. They had everything you need to build a championship contender. And what did they do with all those advantages? They let Devers walk. They traded him away to San Francisco in one of the most baffling, inexplicable moves in recent memory. And their reasoning was absolutely insane. They said they wanted to pursue other options. They wanted financial flexibility. They wanted to build the roster differently. Okay, Boston, you got your precious flexibility. Now what the hell are you going to do with it? Because here's what that flexibility actually got you in reality versus fantasy. You lost Rafael Devers, one of the best hitters in baseball. You lost Alex Bregman, who would have been the perfect replacement. You lost your 2024 first-round pick, James Tighe, in the Devers trade. And what did you get in return for blowing up your entire infield strategy? Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, and half a season of an injured Dustin May. That's it. That's the complete return for destroying your franchise's competitive foundation. Why would you let Devers go just to turn around and not pay That's the question every single Red Sox fan is screaming into the void right now. What was the plan here? Because if the plan was to let your homegrown superstar walk away, fail spectacularly to sign his replacement, alienate your entire fan base, become a laughingstock around baseball, then congratulations. You executed that plan absolutely perfectly. Mission accomplished. Your franchise is now a complete and utter joke. The Red Sox front office has turned one of baseball's most storied franchises into a cautionary tale about what happens when you prioritize financial flexibility over actually winning games. They've become the poster children for organizational dysfunction, short-sighted thinking, and disconnection from what fans actually want. And now they're paying the price, as Bregman heads to Chicago while Boston scrambles desperately to figure out what comes next. Now let's pivot to the story that has every Toronto Blue Jays fan absolutely riveted and completely divided about whether this is brilliant or insane. An MLB insider has sparked legitimate league-wide reaction by suggesting the Blue Jays could be on the verge of a massive trade involving Kettle Mart, and the timing could not possibly be more intense, with crucial decisions looming that will define this franchise's championship window. This conversation centers entirely on Kettle Mart, a player who was once considered completely off-limits and untouchable by the Arizona Diamondbacks, but who is now suddenly available due to shifting organizational priorities and an urgent, desperate need for starting pitching. This is a change in Arizona's approach that has immediately pulled the Toronto Blue Jays back into a trade discussion that has quietly existed for years behind the scenes. If you love getting every major update, rumor, and angle in one place without having to scour 10 different websites and Twitter accounts, please hit that subscribe button and help us get this channel to 1,000 subscribers. This is where all the Blue Jays news lives. This is where the analysis happens. And this story is absolutely only just beginning to unfold. As the next wave of off-season activity approaches, league executives across baseball are arriving at their offices with open agendas and aggressive mindsets focused on making franchise-altering moves. And Toronto is absolutely no exception to this trend, as recent roster movement and public statements have already strongly hinted that the front office is preparing for something significantly bigger than minor adjustments or tweaking around the edges. Kettle Mart re-entering the trade market has fundamentally changed everything about the landscape of available players, because his contract structure, his consistent production, and his defensive versatility make him legitimately one of the most valuable trade targets available anywhere in baseball. And once Arizona signaled their willingness to actually listen to offers rather than immediately hanging up the phone, teams across the league started calling immediately. For Toronto specifically, pursuing Kettle Mart is absolutely not a new idea that just popped up overnight. Mart has long been viewed internally as a perfect fit for the Blue Jays roster construction, offering elite offensive output from both sides of the plate, genuine defensive flexibility to play multiple premium positions, and extensive postseason experience in high-pressure situations. All of this while being locked into a team-friendly contract that fits absolutely perfectly with Toronto's win-now timeline and championship aspirations. Now here's where things get absolutely fascinating, and where Blue Jays fans start getting divided into passionate camps. A proposed trade package that has grabbed serious attention across baseball would send Kettle Mart and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. to Toronto in exchange for Addison Barger, Jose Barrios, Arjun Nimala, and Johnny King. That's a massive package, folks. This is not some minor deal involving spare parts. This is a legitimate blockbuster that would reshape both franchises. This trade proposal instantly divides opinion among fans and analysts, but it genuinely reflects the real cost of acquiring an established star with multiple years of team control remaining. You don't get elite players for free. You don't land all-star caliber performers without giving up significant value in return. That's just the reality of how the trade market functions at the highest levels. From Arizona's perspective, this deal solves multiple immediate problems simultaneously. They're adding Jose Barrios, a reliable, durable starting pitcher who can eat innings and provide stability in the middle of their rotation. They're getting Addison Barger. It's a young bat who's ready for everyday opportunities and could develop into an impact player. And they're acquiring two high-upside prospects in Arjun Nimala and Johnny King, who significantly deepen their future pipeline and give them building blocks for sustained success. From Toronto's side, this move represents an absolutely clear, unambiguous commitment to certainty over projection. This is choosing proven impact and established production over development timelines and hoping prospects pan out. This is the front office saying, we're not waiting for maybes anymore. We're going to win right now with players we know can perform. Kettle Mart's recent performance places him firmly among the league's top hitters at his position, combining legitimate power to all fields, excellent plate discipline that leads to quality and remarkable consistency year after year. His presence alone would completely reshape the middle of the Blue Jays lineup overnight. It's providing another switch-hitting threat that opposing pitchers have to game plan around. Now, some people will immediately jump to the age concern, pointing out that Marte is in his early 30s. But here's the crucial counterpoint. His production has not dipped even slightly. He's not showing signs of decline, he's not slowing down, and his contract remains one of the most efficient values in the entire game. This is far more than just a short-term rental, this is adding a legitimate star who can contribute at a high level for multiple years. The toughest part of this entire conversation for Blue Jays fans is definitely Addison Barger, whose emergence last season brought genuine optimism about the team's outfield future. Barger showed flashes of real ability, he contributed in big moments, and fans naturally became attached to his potential. But here's the hard truth that front offices have to face. Internal evaluations still genuinely question his ability to handle left-handed pitching consistently at a high level. And there are legitimate concerns about whether his trade value will ever be higher than it is right this very moment. Moving Barger would absolutely sting emotionally for fans who've watched him develop, but championship teams are consistently built on difficult decisions, not comfortable ones that make everyone feel good. And Toronto's front office understands at a fundamental level that standing still and hoping everything works out perfectly can be just as risky as acting boldly and aggressively when opportunities present themselves. This trade discussion becomes even more fascinating and complex when you view it alongside the massive uncertainty surrounding Bichette's future with the organization and the aggressive pursuit of an elite outfield bat like Kyle Tucker. If Bichette eventually departs via free agency and Toronto successfully lands Tucker in what would be a massive signing, the entire roster construction shifts dramatically and opens up perfect opportunities for positional flexibility. Imagine this scenario playing out. Marte slides seamlessly into second base, where his switch-hitting bat and defensive versatility provide elite value. Tucker patrols left field, providing superstar production. Vladdy anchors first base and the heart of the order. Suddenly, you've got a lineup that gains perfect balance between left and right-handed bats, legitimate power throughout the order, and relentless pressure on opposing pitchers every single inning. That is genuinely the kind of transformation this move could represent for Toronto's championship aspirations. A batting order where every single inning presents serious problems for opposing pitchers, where there are absolutely no easy outs anywhere in the lineup, and where managers can't just pitch around one or two guys because the threats are everywhere. Even if the Kyle Tucker pursuit doesn't ultimately work out for whatever reason, the inclusion of Lourdes Gurriel Jr. in this trade adds immediate, tangible value as a right-handed bat who absolutely thrives in favorable matchup situations and brings extensive familiarity with the Toronto organization. From his previous time here, this kind of roster flexibility matters tremendously over the grueling length of a 162-game season, especially for a team actively looking to optimize every roster spot without massively overspending in free agency. The fan reaction to this proposed trade has been completely split right down the middle. It's with extremely strong arguments on both sides. And that philosophical divide highlights the fundamental choice at the absolute heart of this debate. Do you hold on to potential prospects and developmental pieces while hoping everything aligns perfectly according to your optimistic projections? Or do you aggressively invest in established, proven production to reduce uncertainty when your championship window is closing and the margin for error is shrinking by the day? Baseball history consistently shows us over and over that proven stars win championships far more often than unproven prospects. While absolutely no trade is without inherent risk, opportunities like acquiring a player of Kettle Marte's caliber at a reasonable contract do not come along often. When these windows open, you have to be prepared to act decisively. Pitching depth is another absolutely key factor that makes this trade more feasible than it might initially appear. While Jose Berrios is definitely a valuable, reliable arm in Toronto's rotation, the Blue Jays have strategically positioned themselves to absorb that loss through recent additions like Dylan Cease and Shane Bieber, plus internal options developing through the system. For Arizona, Berrios brings the immediate rotation stability they desperately need, making this deal even more logical from their perspective and significantly increasing the likelihood that serious discussions could actually take place. This is precisely why the timing is so absolutely critical right now. Once serious trade discussions begin, in earnest, leverage shifts incredibly quickly. Teams either strike decisively when opportunities present themselves, or they sit back hesitantly and watch those opportunities completely disappear as other franchises act more aggressively. Toronto has a well-documented history of making decisive, bold moves when external pressure peaks and the stakes are highest. And if Ross Atkins and the front office genuinely believe this is the right moment to make this particular move, you can bet hesitation will not be any part of the equation whatsoever. Think about what this trade would signal to the rest of baseball and to the Blue Jays' own fan base. It would demonstrate unequivocally that Toronto is absolutely all-in on winning right now. It would show that the organization is willing to pay the necessary price to acquire elite talent rather than hoping prospects eventually develop. It would send a message to players like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. that ownership and management are committed to building a championship roster around him. But let's also acknowledge the very real risks involved in a trade of this magnitude. You're giving up Addison Barger, who could potentially develop into an everyday contributor. You're trading Jose Berrios, who's been a reliable innings. You're parting with Arjun Nimala and Johnny King, both of whom have legitimate upside and could become impact players down the road. If Kettle Mart gets injured, if his production declines unexpectedly, if the fit isn't quite right in Toronto's lineup, suddenly you're looking at a trade that mortgaged significant future assets for disappointing present returns. That's the risk you take when you go all-in, and it's why these decisions are so incredibly difficult for front offices to make. There's also the question of whether Arizona would actually accept this package. Maybe they look at what's being offered and decide they want more. Maybe they prefer a different combination of prospects. Maybe they get a better offer from another team that's willing to outbid Toronto. Trade negotiations are fluid, complex, multi-party affairs where things change constantly. But the mere fact that this proposal is being discussed seriously by insiders and analysts tells you that both sides see potential value here. Arizona gets the pitching help they desperately need, plus young talent to rebuild with. Toronto gets the established star they need to compete right now. It's the kind of trade where both teams can legitimately feel like they improve their positions. So the question now belongs entirely to you, Blue Jays fans. Would you make this move and accept the cost for the genuine chance to significantly raise the team's championship ceiling? Or would you hold back, protect the future, and hope that internal development and free agent signings are enough to get Toronto over the top? This is not an easy question with an obvious answer. Reasonable people can disagree based on their personal risk tolerance, their assessment of the team's current championship odds, their faith in prospect development, and their evaluation of Kettle Mart's remaining prime years. Some fans will passionately argue that you absolutely make this trade without hesitation. Mart is a proven commodity. He's been an all-star, he performs in October, and he fills multiple needs. Why would you bet on prospects and hope when you can get certainty? The championship window is now, not 5 years from now when these prospects might be ready. Other fans will just as passionately argue that you cannot give up this much talent, especially Addison Barger and high-upside prospects, for a player in his 30s. What if Mart declines? What if injuries happen? What if you need those prospects later for another trade? Protect the future, build sustainable success, don't mortgage everything for one player. Both arguments have genuine merit, and that's what makes this such a fascinating discussion for the Blue Jays community. There's no consensus, no obvious right answer, just competing visions for how to build a championship roster. What we do know for certain is that the quiet part of the offseason is officially over. The Bregman signing has opened the floodgates. Teams are moving aggressively now. The Kettle Mart situation has evolved from completely unavailable to actually being discussed. And the Toronto Blue Jays are right in the middle of it all, trying to make the moves that push them from good to great. The next decision Ross Atkins makes could genuinely change the entire trajectory of this franchise for years to come. Will he pull the trigger on a blockbuster? Will he stand pat and trust in the current roster? Will he find a completely different path that nobody sees coming? We're about to find out. So here's what I need from you right now. Share your thoughts in the comments about whether you'd make this Kettle Mart trade. Would you give up Barger, Berrios, Nimala, and King to get Mart and or is that too steep a price? Give me your honest, unfiltered opinion. Like this video if this breakdown added clarity and helped you understand both sides of this debate. We put tremendous effort into researching these topics, analyzing all the angles and presenting the information in an entertaining, informative way. And most importantly, subscribe to this channel and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. We're working incredibly hard to bring you the absolute best Blue Jays content anywhere on YouTube. Every major development will be covered right here with the depth and analysis you deserve. Turn on notifications so you're alerted the moment breaking news drops about Kettle Mart, Kyle Tucker, Bo Bichette, or any other major story affecting this team. You don't want to miss a single update as this offseason reaches its critical phase. Share this video with your fellow Blue Jays fans who need to be part of this conversation. Tag them in the comments, send them the link, get them involved in the debate. The Blue Jays community is strongest when we're all engaged in discussing these crucial decisions together. The Red Sox are in flames. Bregman is a Cub. Kettle Mart might be available. The Blue Jays are at a crossroads. This is where championships are won or lost, folks. This is where bold decisions separate contenders from pretenders. Stay locked in because the offseason is far from over and the next bombshell could drop at any moment. We'll be here covering every angle, every rumor, every development as it happens. Thank you so much for watching, for supporting this channel, and for being part of this incredible community. Until next time, let's go Blue Jays! Let's make the moves that bring a championship back to Toronto. Subscribe, like, comment, and we'll see you in the next video.